Hello, everybody. This is Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy. Part 3, Chapter 27. If it only weren't a pity to abandon what has been done, costs so much labor, it would be better to give up, sell out, go abroad, and hear La Belle Hélène like Nikolai Ivanovitch, the old proprietor was saying, while his intelligent face lighted up with a smile. Da vault, but still you don't sell out, said Nikolai Ivanovitch Sviazhsky, so you must be well off on the whole. I'm well off in one way, because I have a home of my own and don't hire or board. Besides, one always hopes that the peasantry will improve, but would you believe it, their drunkenness, this laziness? Everything goes to destruction, no horses, no cows, they starve to death. But try to help them, take them for farmhands, they manage to ruin you, yes, even before a justice of the peace. But you too can complain to the justice of the peace, said Sviazhsky. What, I complain? Da, not for a world. All such talks show the complaints are idle. Here at the mill they took their handsel and went off. What did the justice of the peace do? Acquitted them. Your only chance is to go to the communal court, to the starshina. The starshina will have the man thrashed for you, but for him, sell out, fly to the ends of the world. The proprietor was evidently trying to tease Sviazhsky, but Sviazhsky not only did not lose his temper, but was much amused. Da vault, I carry on our estates without these measures, said he, smiling. I, Levin, he pointed to the other proprietor. Yes, but ask Mikhail Petrovitch how his affairs are getting along. Is that a rational way? Demanded the proprietor, especially accenting the word rational. My way is very simple, said Mikhail Petrovitch. Thank the Lord. My whole business lies in seeing that the money is ready for the autumn taxes. The mushiks come and say, Batiushka, help us, father. No, all these mushiks are neighbors. I pity 'em. No, I advance 'em the first third. Only I say, remember, children, I help you, and you must help me when I need you. Sowing the oats, getting in the hay, harvesting. No, I get along with them as with my own family. To be sure, there are some among them who haven't any conscience. Levin, who knew of old about these patriarchal traditions, exchanged glances with Sviazhsky, and interrupting Mikhail Petrovitch, he said, How would you advise, addressing the old proprietor with the gray mustache, how do you think one's estate ought to be managed? Da, manage it just as Mikhail Petrovitch does. Either give half the land to the mushiks or go shares with them. That's possible, but all the same, the wealth of the country is growing less and less. Places on my lands which in the time of serfage under good management produced ninefold now only produce threefold. Emancipation has ruined Russia. Sviazhsky looked at Levin with scornful amusement in his eyes and was just making a gesture to express his disdain, but Levin listened to the old proprietor's words without any feeling of scorn. He understood them better than he understood Sviazhsky. Much that the old man said in his complaint that Russia was ruined by the emancipation seemed to him true, though his experience did not go so far back. The proprietor evidently expressed his honest thought, a thought which arose not from any desire to show an idle wit, but from the conditions of his life, which had been spent in the country where he could see the question practically from every side. The fact is, continued the old proprietor, who evidently wished to show that he was not an enemy of civilization, all progress is accomplished by force alone. Take the reforms of Peter, of Catherine, of Alexander. Take European history itself, and all the more for progress in agriculture. The potato, for instance. To have potatoes introduced into Russia took force. We've not always plowed with plows, but to get them introduced into our domains took force. Now in our day we proprietors, who had seigneurial rights, could conduct our affairs to perfection. Drying rooms and winnowing machines and improved carts, all sorts of tools, we could introduce because we had the power. And the mushiks at first would oppose, and then would imitate us. But now, by the abrogation of serfage, they have taken away our authority, and so our estates, now that everything is reduced to the same level, must necessarily sink back to the condition of primitive barbarism. This is my view of it. Da, but why? If that were rational, then you could keep on with your improvements by hiring help, said Sviazhsky. Not without authority. How could I? Allow me to ask. This is the working force. The chief element is the problem before us, thought Levin, with hired men. Hired men will not work well or work with good tools. Our laborers know how to do only one thing, to drink like pigs, and when they are drunk, to spoil everything that you let them have. They water your horses to death, tear your nice harnesses, take the tires off your wheels and sell them for drink, stick bolts into your winnowing machines so as to make them useless. Everything that's not done in their way makes them sick at the stomach, and thus their affairs of our estates go from bad to worse. The lands are neglected and go to weeds, or else are given to the mushiks. Instead of producing millions of chetverts of wheat, where you can raise only a few 100,000, the public wealth is diminishing. If they were going to free the serfs, they should have done it gradually. And he developed his own scheme, wherein all difficulties would have been avoided. This plan didn't interest Levin, and he returned to his first question, with the hope of inducing Sviazhsky to tell it what he seriously thought about it. It's very true that the level of our agriculture is growing lower and lower, and that in our present relations with the peasantry it's impossible to carry on our estates rationally, he said. I'm not of that opinion, said Sviazhsky seriously. I deny that, since serfage was abolished, agriculture has decayed, and I argue that in those days it was very wretched and very low. We never had any machines or good cattle or decent supervision. We didn't even know how to count. Ask a proprietor. He could not tell you what a thing cost or what it would bring him. Italian bookkeeping, said the old proprietor ironically. Reckon all you please and get things mixed as much as you please. There'll be no profit in it. Why get things mixed up? Your miserable flail, your Russian topchak-chik, will break all to pieces. My steam thresher will not break to pieces. Then your wretched nags, how will they? A puny breed that can pull by the tails comes to nothing. But our percherons, our vigorous horses, they amount to something. And so with everything. Our agriculture always needed to be pushed. But it would need some power, Nikolai Ivanovitch. Very well for you, but one has one son at the university and several others at school, as I have. He can't afford to buy percherons. There are banks on purpose. To have my last goods and chattels sold under a hummer? No, thank you. I don't think that it's necessary or possible to lift the level of agriculture much higher, said Levin. I'm much interested in this question. I have the means, but I cannot do anything. As for the banks, I don't know whom they profit, and up to the present time, whatever I've spent on my estate has resulted only in loss. Cattle, loss. Machines, loss. That's true, said the old proprietor, with a gray mustache, laughing with hearty satisfaction. And I'm not the only man, Levin continued. I call to mind all those who have made experiments in the rational manner. All, with few exceptions, had come out of it with losses. No, you say that your estate is profitable? He asked, seeing in Sviazhsky's face the transient expression of embarrassment which he noticed when he wanted to penetrate further into the reception-room of Sviazhsky's mind. However, this question was not entirely fair play on Levin's part. The Kozyaika told him at tea that they had just had a German expert up from Moscow who, for 500 rubles fee, agreed to put the bookkeeping of the estate in order, and he found that there had been a net loss of about 3,000 rubles. The old proprietor smiled when he heard Levin's question about the profits of Sviazhsky's management. It was evident that he knew about the state of his neighbor's finances. It may be unprofitable, replied Sviazhsky. This only proves that either I'm a poor economist or I sink my capital to increase the revenue. Ach, revenue, cried Levin with horror. Maybe there's such a thing as revenue in Europe, where the land's better for the labor spent upon it. But with us, the more labor spent on it, the worse it is. That's because it exhausts it, so there's no revenue. How no revenue? It's a law? Then we're exceptions to the law. The word revenue has no clearness for us and explains nothing, but rather confuses. No, tell me how revenue. Won't you have some curds? Masha, send us up some curds, or some raspberries, said Sviazhsky to his wife. Raspberries have lasted unusually late this year. And with his usual jovial disposition of soul, Sviazhsky got up and went out, evidently assuming that the discussion was ended, while for Levin it seemed that it had only just begun. Levin was now left with the old proprietor and continued to talk to him, endeavoring to prove that all the trouble arose from the fact that we did not try to understand our laborers' habits and peculiarities. But the old proprietor, like all people accustomed to think alone and for himself, found it difficult to enter into the thought of another, and clung firmly to his own opinions. He declared that the Russian muzhik was a pig, and loved swinishness, and that it needed force to drive him out of this swinishness, or else a stick. But we are such liberals that we have swapped off the 1,000-year-old stick for these lawyers in jails, where the good-for-nothing stinking muzhik gets fed on good soup and has his pure air by the cubic foot. Why, asked Levin, wishing to get back to the question, do you think it's impossible to reach an equilibrium which will utilize the forces of the laborer and render them productive? That will never come about with the Russian people. There's no authority, replied the proprietor. But how could new conditions be found? Asked Sviazhsky, who had been eating his curds and smoking a cigarette, and now approached the two disputants. All the needful forms are ready for use, as well learned. That relic of barbarism, the primitive commune where each member is responsible for all, is falling to pieces of its own weight. The seigneurial right has been abolished. Now there remains only free labor, and its forms are right at hand. The day laborer, the journeyman, the farmer, and now get rid of that if you can. But Europe is weary of these forms. Yes, and perhaps we'll find new ones, and we'll progress, probably. This is all I say about that, said Levin. Why should we not seek them on our side? Because it's just the same as if they should try to find new ways of building railroads. They're already, they are thought out. But if they do not suit us, if they're hurtful, Levin demanded. And again he saw the frightened look in Sviazhsky's eyes. We throw up our caps, we follow wherever Europe leads. All this I know, but tell me, are you acquainted with all this is doing in Europe about their labor question? No, very little. This question's now occupying the best minds in Europe. Schultz Delitzsch and his school, then all this prodigious literature on the labor question, the tendencies of the advanced liberal Lassalle, the organizations of Mulhausen, this is all a fact. You must know it. I have an idea of it, but it's very vague. No, you only say so. You know all this as well as I do. I don't set up to be a professor of social science, but these things interest me, and I assure you, if they interest you, you should go into them. But where do they lead you? Beg pardon. The two pomeshchiks got up, and Sviazhsky, again arresting Levin just as he was about to carry out his intention of sounding the depths of his mind, went out with his guests.